This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with my man, Tony Crow. We're going to do a recap of the day for the New York Knicks and, of course, around the league. But we're going to start with our very own New York Knicks. And as you know, they have signed Jalen Brunson to a deal, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty sure you've heard about it all day long. Woj finalized it about an hour and a half ago, maybe a little bit more, because if you remember, there were reports that the Knicks were signing Jalen Brunson, and then it came out that there was going to be Jalen Brunson was going to meet with the Mavs, and then he was going to meet with the Knicks afterwards. Well, he already met with the Mavs, and he had a 5-year, $106 million deal that he was taking into the Knicks negotiations, but all of that seemed to be smoke and mirrors. Everybody knew Jalen Brunson was signing with the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen. So, Tony, and we're going to get to the salary in the breakdown and what he ranks amongst point guards and all of that kind of stuff. But just initially, Tony, it's a done deal now. Jalen Brunson, Isaiah Hartenstein. Your thoughts on how this really does impact the New York Knicks this season, right? How does it impact RJ? How does it impact Randall? How does it impact Mitchell Robinson, Evan Fournier? How does it make this team look? Talk to me. You're muted.
What's up, Sim? Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black, it's time. It looks like a complete team, for the first time. I think coming into the season, we don't have to hear about the construction of the roster. Mm-hmm. And does this fit? Does that fit? Not by no means am I saying it's a finished product or nothing. There's nothing to be done to improve, because you can always improve. But the structure of the roster is complete. Little blood certain areas, but now we have guys that do specific things that we were missing, so they fill holes in positions. Mm-hmm. We needed a floor general, we needed a leader. We questioned the leadership of who's the leader of this team, and a lot of people said Derrick Rose, but even in his absence, it's hard to lead when you're not available.
Right.
And, I won't get into the other guys who could have or should have been leaders, but I think we have a leader of this team now, somebody that could take the charge and put guys in direction.
So are you concerned at all about the defense in the first unit? And it's not about Jalen Brunson and his ability to play defense. I think he's a good defensive guard, but he's small, right? And Tibbs likes to have guards that are 6'4", or 6'4", 6'5", defending the point guard spot. You're not getting that with Jalen Brunson. He's basically pigeonholed into defending opposing point guards. Even if those point guards are 6'4", right? He's pigeonholed into defending them. And then you have a guy like Evan Fournier, who's not the greatest defender. Mm-hmm. So do you feel at all that this might give the Knicks a disadvantage on the defensive side of the ball? Now, I will say Jalen Brunson is very strong, so I'm not worried about guys posting him up because he's got a strong upper body and lower body. You know what I mean?
Just
So I think that helps him when taller guys are trying to post him up. Although he can't do anything about his height, they can still shoot over top.
yeah, I think that's the only danger that we have defensively with him. Guys that can shoot over him, and that in itself is a talent. You know what I mean? So it's not like just because someone is taller than him, they can shoot over him. You
Right.
still have to have the functionality to do it, and the consistency and the good jump shot. So it's not like he's just going to be a liability for that because the guy's taller, because he has good defensive tendencies. He's a hard worker defensively. Like, I don't even think he's a bad defender. Like you said, it's really, my only concern is a good shooter shooting over him. And chances are, if it's a good shooter who could shoot over him, and it's a good shooter, period, he'll know how to get his shot no matter who the defender was. So I'm not too concerned with that. And then when you compare it to like last year, I guess the question becomes: did Burks' defense during the latter half of the season or second half of the season, is that the reason why we finished still with a good defensive rating? Like, did he just make up for Kemba's lapses, or because I think Brunson's a better defender than Kemba. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like we're missing anything in that aspect. We're only gaining some stability and some direction and some, again, leadership.
Right. We're gaining that, definitely. We're gaining that. How much do you think we miss? And we're going to come back to Brunson. How much are we going to miss Burks off the bench? Right? And first of all, let me say this to Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. I salute those guys, man. Right? Nerlens Noel was hurt last season, but he was a big part, played a big role in the Knicks making that 4th seed. Alec Burks played a big role in the Knicks making that 4th seed. Alec Burks, he did whatever was asked of him the season before and last season. You know, so those guys were good pros for the New York Knicks. I don't have anything bad to say about either one of them besides Nerlens Noel not being able to catch the ball, right? But Alec Burks, he played a big role with this team as just a utility knife. Yeah, a Swiss Army knife that can do anything that you need him to do. He can be a scorer. You know, he can man that point guard spot. You don't want to see it all the time, of course, but he can do it in a pinch. He can rebound the ball. He can hit closing shots. He can do those type of things. How much do you think this team is going to miss him? And do we have anybody that can step into that role?
Well, that's where I was leading to with the last question, because I think the big difference with him is his switchability, especially at the point guard position, where he could switch to the 2, switch to the 3. You know what I mean? Switch to the 4 on a possession or two. We don't have that ability with Brunson. I mean, maybe 1 and 2. 3 is going to start getting iffy. He's still going to be strong, but then that shooting over him, I think that becomes inevitable. So I think that's where we miss Burks the most, the switchability, especially, funny as it sounds, but at the point guard position. Everything else, I think we could fill in for. The closing shots, I think we have guys that can do it, Brunson included. The rebounding, I think guys can fill that role as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think it's just going to be the switchability on defense.
Yeah. And if Cam can step up, right? If Cam can step up, then he can play in that role, right? As someone who should be able to play defense from at least the 2 to the 4. Not sure about 1s, depending on who that 1 is, but at least from 2 to 4, he should be able to play that defense.
And to be honest, I am conflicted in, wondering, should we pursue moving Fournier? You know, because we still have Grimes there as well, who will fit in where we don't lose the shooting, we gain the defense. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So now he could start, whether it's him or Cam. You know what I mean? I understand. I think Grimes is higher in Tibbs's totem pole, so I'll give him the nod first. But I think he could start. He could start. You know, and it's nothing. It's not even that I don't like Fournier, but if we talking about defense, you know, I think both those guys are better defenders, and Grimes is closer to at least the shooting that Fournier gives you.
right.
Um, so I would consider starting Grimes and really just seeing what we could do for get for Fournier.
Yeah,
But I also will say this: him and Randall did seem to start figuring things out on the floor later in the season, and there's no telling where that combination could go offensively as well.
yeah. Yeah, and you know, I'm kind of conflicted as well about Evan Fournier. One of the bigger reasons that I say move him is because this is weird for me to say, right? Because I'm one of those people that's like, if this guy's marketable and he can benefit a team, then why can't he benefit your team, right? But I feel like he can use his money to find ways to get something, someone that may be better, that is better defensively, but can still knock down the three.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think we can do that. Plus, you know, if we package two guys, you know, then we can open up room for, you know, to bring in one guy. So now our roster is a little bit more balanced, even
But
more
Sim,
balanced. You know what I mean?
I'm saying the same thing. The only difference is I'm saying the guys are already on the team. Like both those guys are better defenders off jump immediately.
Right.
Cam and Grimes.
Right.
And
No doubt.
Grimes
No doubt.
at the very least gives you similar consistency at the 3-point shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then obviously Cam at his best, I mean he gives you a little bit of everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you can just move him, even if it's attaching some type of trade compensation, um, if the other team could absorb it, and I don't know if that's possible, or absorb some of it. You know, now you get back a trade exception, maybe a guy that you're gonna waive. So I mean, I think there's a bunch of different ways we could look at it, and I don't even like advocating for anybody to get moved.
Nah, I feel you.
I just feel like you kind of have to, or somebody's gonna have to settle in the wait my turn role,
Right.
and
Right.
and who on the team deserves
Yeah.
who on the team deserves that right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. We got a lot to talk about with Jalen Brunson and the roster and all of that kind of stuff. A lot to talk about. I want to get to Jalen Brunson's salary, okay, because he's 4 years, $104 million, right? That's his salary. And I want to do a breakdown of what his salary will look like and how it will impact the cap year to year. Now, I did the breakdown on a conventional. I was about to say conventional loan, not conventional loan. On a conventional salary breakdown, right? And then a decelerating salary. And it sounds like right now we may have it confirmed that he has a decelerating salary. All right. So let's take a look at it. Jalen Brunson's salary breakdown, ladies and gentlemen. If he had a conventional salary in year one, he'd make $24.2 million. Year two, 25.4. In year three, 26.6. And in year four, 27.8. They could do a salary where he just gets paid a flat $26 million a year. Doesn't seem like they're doing that from what we understand. He'll be getting a salary that's decelerating. So if it's decelerating, he'll make $28.1 million in the first year, $26.7 million in the second year, 25.3 in the third year, and 23.9 in the fourth year. So obviously, this kind of a salary, it hits your cap a little bit more year one and year two, but then in year three and year four, it looks real nice on your cap, right?
Well,
And,
year four is the player option as
and
well.
year four is an option,
So it's
which
very
kind of
player friendly.
benefits. It's team and player friendly, right? Because you look at year four and you're like, wow, in year four, when this guy could be, right in the middle of his peak, we're only paying him $23.9 million. Right. And then he's looking at it like, I'm only making $23.9 million. I'm going to opt out so I can get myself a bigger contract. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm worth more. Now, if he's not playing up to speed, then in year four, you're like, well, we're only paying him $23.9 million if he opts in. So this seems like a fair contract for both him and the team. And it makes him even more tradable if you need to trade.
Exactly. Because even if he opts in, you're thinking it's as the other team, all right, it's only 1 year, it's 23, you know what I mean? It's not like it's that 28 or 27. So yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice, nicely done. Kudos to the front office for even that aspect of the negotiation.
Yeah. So it's going to be a bit of a hit in the first year or two. The only thing that I'm thinking about is, maybe they feel like, well, you know what, for year one and year two of his contract, we're probably not going to be in the running for any players anyway in free agency, right? Maybe that's their thinking. I don't know. But it's going to work out for the Knicks in the end. It's going to look better for the Knicks in the end when he's in, year three, year four, because if he's outplaying his contract, they got a nice value. If he's not, then it's like, hey, we're paying him $24 million in his last year. So it's a pretty good contract. And I know there was a lot of people that were concerned that we were overpaying for Jalen Brunson, but I don't know if that's exactly the case. You know what I mean? I don't know if we're exactly overpaying for him. When you look at his salary compared to players around the league or other point guards around the league, it's like 14th in the league. All right? Which, it's not bad. You see Steph Curry, it's making $48 million 2022. $48 million. And you know what? He's Steph Curry. He just won a championship. Pretty sure he's worth that $48 million. Russell Westbrook, $47 million. Damian Lillard, $42.4 million. And this is from Spot Track, by the way. Trae Young, $37 million. Luka, $37 million. Kyrie Irving, $36.9 million, basically $37 million. Ben Simmons, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Simmons, $35.4 million. Jamal Murray, $31.6. D'Angelo Russell, $31.3. SGA, $30.9. De'Aaron Fox, $30.3. Chris Paul, $28.4. Kyle Lowry, $28.3. At his advanced age. I mean, you look at these two guys above him. Chris Paul, 37. Of course, that's Chris Paul, but And Kyle Lowry, 36. And then Jalen Brunson, they have him at 24.1 in year one. If he is in a descending contract, though, this is going to change his ranking if he actually has a descending or decelerating contract. All right, remember, if it's a decelerating contract, he'll be making $28.1 million in the first year. So that puts him still in the 14th spot behind Chris Paul. So there you go.
Same spot, even still.
Same spot, even still, but behind Chris Paul. So, Tony, what's your thoughts, man, about the amount, do you think it's a good, is it a good salary? Um,
I mean, it has the
all of
potential to
that.
be the still with it decelerating. So I like that. Um, yeah, I think it's a great contract, great job by the front office, and maybe Leon Rose coming from that other field of being an agent, maybe that's a real good thing. Like maybe we're seeing even more of how this helps in the organization standpoint of being able to negotiate and know what players would take and not take and how they can structure things in their benefit and for the team. So yeah, this is great. And the better we do, it might even become a steal. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. It could become a steal. Definitely. Jalen Brunson, ladies and gentlemen, 6'1", 190 pounds. He's 25 years old, so he's still, fairly young. Hasn't even touched his prime yet, right? His prime is probably going to be somewhere around 28. The fear, I guess, is that a player, you know, they play to a certain point, and then during those prime years, maybe they don't stay there, or maybe their prime is, gets cut short. That's the fear. But, let's hope, he reaches his prime and then it accelerates beyond that. But last year, with the Dallas Mavericks, he averaged 16.3 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists. He shot 50.2% from the field, 37.3% from the three-point line, and 84% from the free throw line. Good numbers for Jalen Brunson. I seen people all over Twitter say, I'm tired of hearing about efficiency and this, that, and the third. We need this kind of efficiency from the point guard spot. I'm sorry if you don't like to hear about it, then don't listen, I guess. I don't know, but we need this kind of efficiency.
And
Shoots
not just from the point guard spot, but it's nice to have it somewhere on that team. So
right. You know what I mean? I mean, think about when we made the playoffs a couple of seasons ago. One of the biggest problems that people had is that Elfrid Payton was inefficient from the field. He could get to the basket just about any time he wanted to, but he couldn't make the layups. He couldn't knock down threes. Well, we're getting a guy that should be able to do so this year. You know what I mean? So, good numbers for Jalen Brunson. And hopefully his ability. Now, when he penetrates to the basket, he doesn't. He's not going to break you down really, really fast and get to the basket. He uses his body, right? But still, he should be able to penetrate and kick out. He should be able to break down the defense, get inside, kick it out. Part of the scary thing is that he's small and like you could see Kemba sometimes when he got into the lane, when he kicked it out, it might get stolen sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because he was so small. So sometimes it might get stolen. But, from when watching his games, it didn't seem like that was too much of an issue. You know what I mean?
I think his basketball IQ is A1, and that's what makes him who he is. He makes moves off of your mistake. So you know what I mean. He kind of waits. I don't want to say waits for you to make a mistake because he causes it a lot of the time too with his footwork and his savviness. But that's what I really like about him. He's not relying on athleticism. It's all mental with him. It's what I mean in the right way. Like he reads the game well, he plays the game well, he leads well, and he kind of causes you to make a mistake and then reacts to it. That's how he finishes at the rim. That's how he maneuvers in the paint. I think he's just super solid.
Nah,
He
I mean,
kind of
he is.
reminds me of a small Andre Miller in a sense. I think that's the dude. played on the Cavs back in the day. Um, it kind of reminds me of that, just savvy and IQ.
Yeah. You know, he really reminds me, and I said it before. He really does remind me of Kyle Lowry. And I wanted last offseason, I really wanted Kyle Lowry, you know what I mean? Because I thought everything I thought what he brought to the team is what the Knicks needed. And he's kind of like Kyle Lowry. You know what I'm saying? Um, Shout out to Chuck D. I appreciate the super chat. Um, he said, Tony salute. Brunson is durable in a league where fragility settles the outcomes. True. We've seen it last season, right? Nerlens Noel, Derrick Rose, so on and so forth. Kemba Walker. The price paid is for the void we avoided to fill. Market price and inflation rising, we had to pay that rate. Exactly. Yeah, no doubt about it. And the fact that, coming to New York, there's such a higher cost of living. You know what I mean? Again, Chuck D, I appreciate you. He said it's funny how Brunson, the second rounder, was given a shot to shine, but we obscure our young. Again, we're gonna all be looking at Tibbs closely in 2023. Yeah, he was given a shot, but he also capitalized on that shot. You know what I'm saying? And our young guys that's there, they got to capitalize. Deuce, you know what it is with Deuce. I don't know if Deuce got as many shots as he needed to get or should have gotten. And it's going to be tougher for him to get that shot now, right? He a second round pick. Maybe he's kind of in the mold of a Jalen Brunson, right? Are you comfortable, Tony, with IQ being that backup point guard?
I mean, if Rose is healthy, their IQ gonna be at the two, in my opinion. And I mean, I guess it's interchangeable, and maybe you look at Rose as the two guard in this particular situation, where I think early last year or the year before, it was like Rose was handling the ball. But between the two of them, I'm okay. Either one of them, healthy Rose or IQ.
Yeah. Huh. This is, it's tough. IQ is what, 21? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
going to be 22? 21, right? Jalen Brunson
Yeah,
is 25. How much do you think it's tough, right? But this is what you do when you're in the NBA. You gotta, you gotta fight your way up and battle up to the top. IQ is gonna get plenty of minutes. With the contract that they signed Jalen Brunson to, does IQ ever get that chance to prove that he can actually run a team? Or is it that he's gonna have to go someplace else to do it? Unless Jalen Brunson just isn't getting it done.
as a starter, no. I think the idea of IQ being a starting point guard, excuse me, is out the window.
Yeah.
With Brunson here, and as long as Rose is here, you know what I mean. If Rose is here, he could be that second ball handler, and then develop into who he's going to develop into. But yeah, I think Rose has seniority
Mm-hmm.
in my mind. If I'm trying to think like Tibbs as the second point guard, but I think IQ has seniority as the backup two guard. If I'm looking at it from Tibbs' eyes, so that's where I'm getting concerned with the defense. Now, granted, IQ's defense improved a lot last year, but it was
Right.
guarding the point guard position. So we don't know, and it was guarding the backup point guard position for the most part. So we don't know if that is going to translate into guarding two guards, where we know Grimes is solidified, at least defensively. You know what I mean? At guarding ones, twos, some threes. So it really just it makes it tricky. But I think IQ is above Grimes on Tibbs' pecking order. So I think he gets that first shot at the 2 guard if Rose is minding the backup one.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Knicks have signed Jalen Brunson to a 4-year, $104 million contract. It looks like reports out there right now are that Brunson is going to have a decelerating contract. All right, which means in year one, he'd make $28.1 million. In year two, he'd make $26.7 million. In year three, he'd make $25.3 million. And in year four, he'd make $23.9 million. And this is in opposition to what a conventional contract would be, right? A conventional contract would be year one, $24.2 million. Year two, $25.4 million. Year three, $26.6 million. And year four, $27.8 million. Or they could have done it $26 million a year for every single season that he's a New York Knick. But instead, sounds like they're doing a decelerating contract. And I think it's a pretty good contract for him, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a good contract for the New York Knicks as well. Hopefully, it's all going to pan out, and we're going to see Jalen Brunson take control of this basketball team. You know what I mean? The Knicks also signed, ladies and gentlemen, Isaiah Hartenstein. I think I called him Harkenstein earlier, but it's Hartenstein. Plays the center spot, 7 foot, 250 pounds. He's 24 years old. Last year for the Los Angeles Clippers, he averaged 8.3 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, and 2.4 assists, ladies and gentlemen, for Hartenstein, as well as 1.1 blocks per game. He shot 62.6% from the field, 46.7% from the three-point line, and 68.9% from the free throw line. A 2-year, $16 million deal with the New York Knicks for Hartenstein. Tony, talk to me about Hartenstein.
You left out, in my opinion, the most important stat, I believe. If you said it, I missed it. Minutes per game. I don't know if you have that stat, but I believe it was around 15 minutes. I know it was. I'm pretty sure it was definitely under 20 minutes a game. So, those numbers, if you translate them into per 36, we got something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's a hard worker, and worked his whole career everywhere he was. You know what I mean? He kind of had to fight to show what he could do. You know what I mean? Nothing's kind of given to him. So I don't know if he starts immediately. And I'm a Mitch guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch is my guy. But I would not be surprised if he's starting by the end of the season. I think what he does would help the projected starting unit more than what Mitch does.
Okay.
Because he's not a bad defender, right? So you're not really losing that. But he opens the floor for Brunson, who likes to be in the paint, for Randall, who likes to be in the paint, for RJ, who likes to be in the paint. This is something that none of these guys have played with. You know what I mean? An aspect that none of these guys have seen yet. RJ hasn't played with a big that he could, pass the ball out to if he don't have the drive. Randall hasn't on this team. So yeah, I think, and then it also opens up what I think is going to be our best asset, the pick and roll between Brunson and Randall. Pick and roll with Brunson and Randall with a center that's stretching the floor. That's going to be a problem. That's now you really talk about pick your poison.
Right.
RJ could slash, and this guy could pass the ball on top of that.
Right. And look, see, people are, I'm looking in the chat. Couple people are like, "Oh, Tony's crazy," and da. Right. But here's the thing that I don't think people understand, especially, and I'm not trying to hate on Mitch, right? But if you paid attention people complain that Julius Randle didn't run enough pick and roll, with Kemba or with whoever, right? But if you paid attention, it was difficult when you had Mitch in that dunker spot, right? When Mitch is in the dunker spot, it's now easy for if you're running pick and roll with Randle or whoever. It doesn't even have to be Randle. Whoever else you're running pick and roll with, it's a little bit tougher for that roller to roll all the way to the basket when you got Mitch standing in that dunker spot, because his defender can now come over, and defend the roller. Even before the pick and roll develops, they can come over and defend the roller. Now, if you have a guy that's in the corner, or better yet, maybe this guy is out on the wing somewhere, so you have a smaller guy, maybe Evan Fournier or R.J. Barrett in the corner. So now if Randle or another power forward, Obi, rolls to the basket, you got a smaller guy trying to come in to help out on that screen and roll. It makes a big difference. You know what I'm saying? It makes a really big difference on how that pick and roll works. And plus, you got a guy that can knock down 68, 69% of his free throws, that can knock down a mid-range shot, that can knock down a three-point shot from time to time, although he did not take a bunch of them, but he can take them. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I think Tony is explaining. I don't think he's, that's all. It's no hate against Mitch. It's no hate against Mitch.
It's all right, Sim. It's probably gonna be my next video. So you know what I mean. They could talk to me and yell at me about it. They throw tomatoes if But Mitch is my guy. Y'all should know that by now. From as much as I've been saying, pay that man. And I'm not saying don't pay him, or he won't be useful. But I'm looking at the construction of the roster and what it would open up. So
yeah, I mean, that's just the truth. That's how it works sometimes, man. Kareem Jones, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. You say JB is a killer, plays defense, and he's smart. He does break you down, though, and that's one of the best things about him. He's a mix between Lowry and Van Vliet. Yeah, you know what I mean. The Knicks, I think they made a good signing. Depending on the way his salary is, talking about Jalen Brunson, and then, of course, Hartenstein, the Knicks may be pretty much done in free agency, right? Possibly. They could possibly be done in free agency. I guess they may have a mid-level exception or, some exceptions that they could use, unless the deal with Jalen Brunson becomes a sign and trade, right? Then it changes. If that deal is a sign and trade, then it's possible that, the Knicks could be doing some more work in free agency. And I guess we'll probably know within a day or two whether or not that deal is going to be a sign and trade. If it's going to be a sign and trade, I'd like to see it get done. Get the sign and trade done. Now, I guess you probably have to wait for the moratorium to be lifted before everything can be officially signed and officially done. But the reason why I say that is because if you don't wait until, if you wait until 3 weeks, after the moratorium or whatever is lifted, to now execute this sign and trade, all the players that you might have been interested in are now gone. Mm-hmm. Okay. I will say, with everything going on with Kevin Durant, there may be
delays.
There's going to be delays, right? There's definitely going to be delays, right? There's going to be delays, and there's also going to be, what I want to say, more movement going on, right? Because that's going to make space. Yeah, that's going to be a major. That's going to be a major trade, most likely. And so there could be 3, maybe 4 teams involved. People are going to be moving players around trying to make space, absorbing players here, moving draft picks there. You know what I'm saying? And the Knicks can get involved in all of that if they choose to. especially if the Dallas Mavericks, to replace Jalen Brunson, are saying, well, let's go get Kyrie. Well, they may need to find out how to make that happen. And maybe the Knicks can help facilitate that in somehow, some way. I don't know. Or maybe not. I mean, the Mavericks are pretty much cap strapped.
I mean, the only way to do it is, the sign and trade where they get the trade exception, and they would still have to lose. They would still have to give back more salary to us.
Right.
Because I think, what's he making, 28 first year?
Who?
We got it, Brunson.
Brunson.
We would have to, so they would have to be sending out 36. If we're absorbing the 28 from Brunson in the signing trade,
Mm-hmm.
they would only have to send out 9 to the Nets.
Yeah. Big shout out to, I don't want to butcher your name, my man. I'm just being honest with you. So I'm going to say my man V. All right. Big shout out to you. You said, great show. Big fan of the Knicks. And now your show. How come Mark doesn't come on the show anymore? Is he on Twitter? Mark is on Twitter, but he's not always active on Twitter. And he does come on the show sometimes, but, it could be hit or miss with Mark. Sometimes he might be on the show. Sometimes he may not be on the show. You know what I mean? Mark, sometimes got his own things going on.
Hey, V, that's why I don't call him Who's Mark, and I call him Where's Mark.
There you go. There you go. Now, I just seen someone in the chat say something that is interesting, right? Because this is a guy that I've been championing for a while. I just seen it. Let's put this up here. Liam Neeson. He says, Zach LaVine narrowed it down to the Lakers, Bulls, and Knicks. Per Samick.
Who's Samick?
Yeah, he's a reporter guy.
Okay, I never heard of him. So, but as long as you heard of him,
so
that makes me smile.
Yeah,
that makes me smile.
I'm about to look it up to just see, where these reports are and all of that, so I can know what's going on. I don't want to be reporting anything false. Right, but there is Real GM right now says the Bulls remain confident Zach LaVine will sign a 5-year, $215 million deal.
I mean,
obviously the Knicks would not be able to match that kind of a deal, right?
Yeah,
because they can only get 4 years,
unless it's a sign and trade. But yeah, we can't even sign him outright because it would have to be a sign and trade. Because we don't have the space. So, and the Lakers, the same thing. Who was the other team? The Bulls? It was just 3 teams?
He said narrowed it down to the Lakers, the Bulls, and the Knicks.
Yeah, the Bulls obviously have to be the favorite unless he removes them from his list. And even still, they could say we're not doing a sign and trade. So, you know what I mean? So, I guess it's really a long shot,
right? And I don't see it anywhere, but I'm searching so I can see, right? And what it is, but the only way it would work for the Knicks, in my opinion, is that the entirety of Jalen Brunson's contract is through sign and trade. Right? To me, that's the only way that it would work. That they would then be able to go and sign Zach LaVine.
Oh yeah.
Right, and then even I believe, in order for that to work with Zach LaVine, you still may need to, send Derrick Rose. Like let's just say Zach LaVine agreed in principle to sign with the Knicks, right? Then it would have to be, okay, how do we work this out? He tells the Bulls, listen, I want to sign with the Knicks. I want to be in New York, right? The Knicks really wouldn't have leverage unless he was going to sign for whatever the Knicks had. So the Bulls could say, okay, well, if you want to sign with the Knicks, if they can only give you the vet minimum, that's what you better do, right? Or the Bulls could say, okay, we'll help you to facilitate this move, and maybe Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose go to Chicago, right? Along with whatever else. So, I mean, there's so many ways, because the Knicks are below the cap, they can make these sign and trade moves.
Yeah.
So it's a fluid situation. And I'm just surprised that Zach LaVine, I thought that Zach LaVine was going to be one of the first ones down. You know what I'm saying? And that's Sam Amick. I said Samick, but Sam Amick from USA Today.
You seen this, I don't know if people trolling or not.
What's that? I didn't see it. What's that? Tell me.
Breaking news. The Knicks are trading Cam Reddish in a second for LeVert.
You know what? I don't know. I don't see anything, but I'm watching. I'm watching to see. I don't see anything right now. But I'll let you know.
I'm trying to figure it out if that's the dude that was saying we need to get LeVert throughout the chat earlier.
Yeah, people gonna. I don't see anything with that right now, but I'm watching. But I'm watching. You know what I'm saying? People,
they say start with the fake news, guys.
Yeah, people trying to get fake news up there. I'm watching. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But I will say this. I wouldn't put it past the Knicks to be trying to talk with Zach LaVine and his people. I'll say that. I wouldn't put it past them. You know what I mean? To me, it only makes sense to, hey, all he can say is no.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Bulls can say is no. I want to break. Go ahead.
Is there a favorite target of yours that you would want to go after? Whether he be available at this particular moment or no, if you gotta, like the Queen would say, go knock on the door.
Zach.
Zach?
I was saying on your show all night, Zach. Try to make the sign and trade work with Dallas and have that money, free up money to go get Zach, or trade, find someone to take Rose and Evan Fournier's contracts and try to go get Zach. No doubt about it. That, I think if you have Jalen Brunson and then you have Zach LaVine at 2 or 3, whatever you want to say, RJ Barrett at the 2 or the 3, those two guys at the wing spots, Julius Randle at the 4, Mitchell Robinson at the 5. And then you got your Emmanuel Quickly, Cam Reddish, Quentin Grimes, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Obi Toppin as your bench. You got a pretty formidable group right there.
Yeah.
That'd be a tough squad, I think. I'm not saying that they're winning a championship, but that's a nice squad to grow with and try to, really take that next step forward.
And everybody who talks about LaVine being a bad defender, I don't know if he's worse than Fournier. You know what I mean? I really don't. So, if he's in replacement of him.
Yeah. So I want to run down real quick some things that happened today. Nikola Jokic got a record contract from the Nuggets, 5 years, $264 million. Big deal for Nikola Jokic. All right. Let me see what else went on. Obviously, you know about Kevin Durant, right? The Kings signed Malik Monk, 2-year, $19 million contract. Victor Oladipo signed with the Miami Heat, or re-signing with the Miami Heat, a 1-year, $11 million contract. P.J. Tucker signs a 3-year deal with the 76ers 3 years, $33 million. Bradley Beal got a max contract with the Wizards, 5 years, $251 million. Anthony Simons gets a $100 million contract with the Trailblazers. It's 4 years, $100 million extension with the Trailblazers. Bobby Portis, he re-signs with the Bucks, a 4-year, $49 million contract. The Grizzlies keep Tyus Jones. He signed a 2-year, $30 million contract. Lou Dort gets a nice contract from the OKC Thunder. 5 years, $87.5 million for Lou Dort. Mo Bamba re-signs with the Magic on a 2-year, $21 million contract, according to Yahoo Sports. Nicholas Batum is returning to the Clippers on a 2-year contract, 2 years, $22 million. Chris Boucher is returning to the Toronto Raptors on a 3-year, $35 million contract. Joe Ingles is signing with the Bucks on a 1-year, $6.5 million contract. All right, the Suns signed Devin Booker to the Supermax. 4 years, $214 million for Devin Booker. And of course, the Phoenix Suns are the primary team mentioned when it comes to Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant said, he'd like to go to Phoenix. We'll see what that looks like if he does go to Phoenix. Marvin Bagley III gets a $37 million contract from the Pistons, 3 years, $37 million. Patty Mills, he's returning to the Nets. He probably doesn't know what he's returning to right now. He might be their go-to scorer next year. Who knows? But he reached a 2-year, $14.5 million agreement with the Brooklyn Nets. Daniel House has a 2-year contract with the 76ers. That's 2 years, $8.5 million. Jayshawn Tate has a 3-year, $22.1 million contract with the Houston Rockets. The Lakers signed Lonnie Walker because the San Antonio Spurs decided to let him walk. He's on a 1-year, $6.5 million contract. The 76ers signed guard Trevelyan Queen to a 2-year, $3.3 million contract. The Nets keep Nick Claxton on a 2-year, $20 million contract. James Harden is meeting with the 76ers to try to hammer out a deal. Okay, he opted out of his $47 million contract. And, we'll see what's up with that.
They're rumored to be taking $10 million less a year on a longer term deal. And if that ends up being true, it don't even gotta be $10 million. It could be $5 million less on a longer term deal.
Right.
I gotta give him his respect. You know what I mean? Because you don't see that around the league.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. You don't see that around the league. And that could just be his commitment to, wanting to win.
Or my thank you for getting me out of
Brooklyn.
Remember when Suge Knight bailed out Tupac? He was like, all right, I'm loyal to these guys now.
Right. And it's crazy. Everybody was teasing James Harden, including myself, right? Teasing James Harden for wanting to get out of Brooklyn, but now we probably see why. You know what I mean? The thing was starting to rot from the inside, and he said, "Yo, I need to get out of here. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I want to be in." You know what I mean? And I don't blame him. He could probably see it. He's come from, some strong teams with good cultures and things like that. So he's probably like, "Yeah, I need to make this thing. I need to rock out of here." But JaVale McGee signed with the Dallas Mavericks. on a 3-year, $20 million deal. Okay.
That must be an exception, right?
I don't know. Probably some kind of exception. Has to be some kind of exception. Anthony Gill returns to the Wizards. Kevin Knox, ladies and gentlemen.
Detroit basketball.
Kevin Knox has a 2-year deal with the Detroit Pistons. I really hope that Kevin Knox is able to, that he's able to make something happen and find his footing in the league, man. I really do. I hope so.
He'll get as much of an opportunity as he did in his rookie year now.
He should.
You know what I mean? So now it's really about, maybe he learned something from his time with Tibbs to take advantage of your opportunity, because no disrespect and no jinx. It could be his last one, so he got he got to play like it.
Yeah, I hope he makes something and he does something. Kyle Anderson joins the Timberwolves for 2 years, $18 million. Gary Harris is sticking with the Magic. Daylon Wright joins the Wizards. Andre Drummond is finalizing a deal with the Chicago Bulls. Yep. And maybe, just like with Mitchell Robinson, we're not hearing anything about Zach LaVine because they can go over the cap to sign Zach, right? And even if they say that the Bulls, right now, even if they say if they announce it, that the Bulls and Zach have reached an agreement.
Yeah, they won't do it.
Then, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you're probably going to wait until they sign whoever they're going to sign, make whatever moves they're going to make, and then go over the cap to sign Zach LaVine. Right? That probably makes the most sense for the Chicago Bulls right now. Some people had said out there that possibly, watch Andre Drummond going to the Knicks. I'm glad that the Knicks made the move that they made for the center that they did. You know what I mean? We continue to say that we needed a shooting center, and we got one. You know what I mean? We got one. So I'm glad that they made the move that they made. Big shout out to Eric50. Thank you for the super chat. He said, another thing people are not seeing is injuries. And if Mitch gets injured, which I pray doesn't happen, at least you have 2 centers as a backup. I mean, that's true. If Mitch and that right there, Tony, is where Mitch was pretty much healthy last year, though. We got to give him that. He was pretty much healthy. He played 70-something games. Give it up to him, right?
And he played through some games that he probably wouldn't have played through in the previous years.
Exactly. Give it up to him. He was healthy. But if he does happen to go out and then Hartenstein gets to start, that's when the questions are going to, people are going to say, I like the way this looks. You know what I'm saying? But, hey, you know what? Mitchell Robinson has said, though, time and time again, he doesn't care if he starts to come off the bench. You know what I mean? He doesn't care. That's what he said.
And I not only do I believe him, but once you're paid and you're under contract, you know what I mean? Like, it's really nothing to worry about at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you're not hurting your value. You know what I mean? For like, you're not in the contract year and hurting your value.
Right.
So you have time to get better and continue to grow.
Right.
And work on some other aspects if that's what's keeping you off the floor.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the biggest things, even if it's not starting, closing, you know what I mean? Because we already worried about RJ at the line. We already worried about Randall at the line. We're obviously worried about Mitch at the line. If we could fill one of those spots with somebody who's effective and could hit a free throw, if it comes down to it, you know what I mean? That's the better option down the stretch, and especially in a close game.
Right.
So,
yeah, a couple more announcements. All right, we talked about Devin Booker and his $224 million Supermax. The deal begins 24-25, and it brings Booker's total contract value to 6 years, $295 million. That's the total contract. All right, that's a lot of money. Ja Morant has agreed on a 5-year, $193 million designated rookie maximum extension that could become worth $231 million based on incentives.
That's nuts.
So now you see what Ja Morant got. 5 years, $193 million. That could become $231 million. Let's talk about, we got some more announcements, but let's talk about RJ for a minute now. Right? Because the Knicks are going to have to make a decision on whether or not they extend RJ. RJ's not Ja Morant. We know that. But
when's the eligibility start?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Not sure those exact dates.
Yeah, I mean, I think you start negotiating immediately rather than waiting. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think you have to max him at this point. But when you wait, you're taking that risk of him, and he's been progressing. You know what I mean? You're taking that risk of him actually earning it. But I don't care either way. If he earned it, give it to him. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'd rather you I don't care if you give him a rookie max if he's giving us 25 and 8 and 6 and we winning.
Right. I mean, but where do you think this Ja Morant deal, what does it say to RJ? Where does he does he look at this deal and say, and not say I should get the same, but I think he knows he's not going to get the same. The team isn't as good. He hasn't done what Ja Morant's done so far in the league. So he knows that. He's smart.
That's what it boils down to.
But he's probably going to look at that deal, though, and say, okay, he got this. I at least deserve this.
I don't think it, because what was his max extension? 150 something?
170, I think. Something like
170
that.
something?
I thought it was 170.
I mean, the way I feel like if it's about the money, move him. Like don't overpay for him.
Right.
And if it's really about the money, make it incentive based. Because that's a big jump in those incentives from 193 to 250. What'd you say, 251?
Let me see. For Ja Morant, it was where'd it go? 193 to 231.
231. So that's like almost $40 million in incentives.
Right. Yeah. We'll see what happens, with this with RJ's contract extension. I mean, if the Knicks put together a squad, right? Pipe dreaming here, but let's say that, they find a way to get Zach LaVine. I would think that the Knicks would say, okay, let's go ahead, let's extend them now, get people in the books, and let's rock out for a couple of years and see what we can do with this team.
I give them 120, 119, just to get it done early and you know what I mean?
Right.
Get it out the way, solidified.
Yeah, we'll see what's up.
Throw the incentives in there.
Right. We talked about Nikola Jokic's Supermax, 5 years, $270 million. Well, the total value of his deal is 306 years, $303 million. That's the total value. These guys are making money, bro. I mean, they're starting to approach $500 million in these contracts.
Give it about 5 years, Sam. 5 to 10 years.
Word. It's crazy. The Minnesota Timberwolves star, Karl Anthony Towns, this is according to Woj, has agreed on a 4-year, $224 million Supermax extension. The deal begins in 2024-25, makes the total contract value to be 6 years, $295 million. And when they're saying the total contract value, They're
The
adding
years he's already under contract
exactly the years he's already under contract. They're just
before
extending
the
that contract.
extension kicks in.
Right. I mean, bro, these guys are making some crazy money. They deserve it though. I'm not gonna, I ain't mad at them about it. I'm just pointing it out, making some crazy money. You know what I'm saying? And any one of us would if we were offered that amount of money would do the same exact thing. No doubts about it. But there we go. Uh, any. So, what are your thoughts now? Where do you want the Knicks to go now, Tony?
I mean, if you could make it another move to improve the team, I'm all for it. I'm not mad at the Zach LaVine if that could happen. There's not really many out there that I could think of off the top of my off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can move, man, it's tough because I know you want to do the 2-for-1, and I think that is the smart thing to do, just to solidify everything. But I'm torn on who the two are. Like I was just looking at it from Fournier, from a money perspective, but
Right.
like I don't know who I would choose in the 2-for-1. I'd much rather just kind of, if we could get Fournier absorbed, and I think that just kind of clears up the glut for sure. We taking a risk by doing it because we're relying on Grimes immediately. We're relying on Cam's potential, but I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad at that at all.
Who out there would absorb his contract? That's my question.
I mean, I haven't looked to see who has money left. Maybe the Spurs is the only team I could think of that could do it. And with with them moving Murray, I would assume they're in rebuild mode. So they would value picks to absorb them.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe that could work.
Yeah.
I don't know if Pop is staying there, but I mean he got a history of really working with European players and them excelling. So I think it could make sense.
Yeah, and I think the key is if you're gonna free up more space, is finding a way to do it with Dallas. But Dallas is probably they're gonna be like, we're not gonna let you have Jalen Brunson and help you free cap space. You know what I'm saying? Unless it really helps out their team.
I mean, the thing with Dallas is they don't have to take all the money back. Like they could take a Fournier, and then the rest of the money, the difference is a trade exception for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's freeing up the 17 for us.
Right.
So
yeah,
or whatever the difference is freeing up.
Yeah.
10 million is freeing up for us.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. And I'm talk about this for a minute, and we'll swing it back to the Knicks and freeing up cap space and things like that, or acquiring other players. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, what do you think happens there? Where are they going? Where do you think Kevin Durant goes? Where do you think Kyrie Irving ends up?
I think the best move for the Brooklyn Nets is accommodating him to the Suns. I think obviously you ask for Booker, but you're not going to get him. But you can get Johnson, you could get Bridges, you could get Ayton,
right,
and you could probably still get a pick or two. So, I mean, I don't know if you're going to get a better deal from any other team, whether you going by his list, preferred list, or you just trying to move him for King's ransom. You know what I mean? On the other hand, like I don't know if you want to be spiteful and try to send him back to OKC. and be like, yo. I mean, and then he
Yeah.
could just, you know what I mean? Like, but I think the best move for both teams would be Phoenix. Phoenix makes perfect sense. He could still chase the ring. You're not you're not chasing the ring in the sense of going to a championship team. Granted, they was the best team in the league, record wise. I believe last year, if not the year before, whatever. But none of these guys won, So now it's not like you don't have that stigma on you if you do win it. Like, oh, you know what I mean? You jumped on the bandwagon. No, I helped them win. Paul never had a ring. Booker never had a ring. You know what I mean? I'm the only one that had a ring and
Right.
came here. And so now his legacy, like legacy wise, I think that's the smartest thing for him to do.
Right.
And that's a hell of a haul for the Nets in a rebuilding mode with, Ben Simmons if he comes back, Ayton, Bridges, Cam Johnson, whether he's starting or not. I think the other two start. But yeah, I think that's a great haul in return. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you could push
d-
you could push for Booker, and every time they say no, you add a draft pick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. But do you think the Nets are going to try to accommodate KD or say, you know what, because he doesn't have a no trade clause, we're going to get the best deal possible. A deal like that could come from an OKC, like you said.
I agree. I don't. I wasn't like joking when I said I was serious because they have the plethora of picks. They have the plethora of young players that you can kind of. I don't think there's anybody on that team that if Brooklyn says give me him, and him, that OKC says no, unless. I mean, I can't see. You know what I mean? Like it just makes perfect sense. He already was there. They didn't want to move him in the first place. You know what I mean? Like I think they could lure other people to come play there if you know what I mean if they needed to. So that could work as well. And it's almost like what I was saying before, but now it's him just trying to reverse his legacy. Like I'm gonna start from scratch and prove everybody I could do. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
right where I started. So I don't think that's far fetched either. I mean, anywhere you trade them, I don't think they're far from contention, at least playoff contention. And then from there, it's like, all right, who wants to come play with me?
Right.
But pause. They should do that. They should do it quickly. You know what I mean? Before the market dries up. Otherwise, for Brooklyn, it don't matter. It's a slow grind anyway. I don't think whatever they do is gonna be to put them back in finals talk. You know what I mean? Like I think what they have to do is start from scratch,
Right.
and maybe say we're building around Ben Simmons, or move all three of them and then start from scratch with a OKC type treasure
Right.
chest of
See,
assets.
if I were them, I would go to OKC route.
But do you think the package they can give up is potentially better than Ayton, Bridges, Cam Johnson?
No, I'm sorry. I meant the Nets as far as breaking down to just like bare bones. That way. I would go that way. You know what I mean?
But I wouldn't do bare bones though. That's the difference. Like I said, I'm saying if you get 2 picks, Ayton, Bridges, and Cam Johnson, that's a great start from scratch. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you kind of ahead of the game.
No, I hear. Yeah, no doubt
You know
about
what I mean?
No doubt about it.
And you still have Kyrie. Like maybe that's the one that is centered around picks rather than young players. You know what I mean?
See,
and then you got Ben Simmons, and you could. I want a mixture. I want. You know what I mean? I want 3 young guys.
If
with
I
5
am
picks.
the Nets, I'm not having no more parts of Kyrie. I'm getting that man out of there.
You just take what you can get.
No, I'm not just going to take what I can get. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I think around the league, it's going to be kind of lukewarm for Kyrie. People are not going to be banging down the door and like, yo, give me Kyrie. I think people are going to be like, I don't know. This guy is a team killer. You know what I mean? There'll be teams that want him. But
I'm pissed because I feel like the Lakers are going to be the main pursuer, and I don't know how far down the line they want to give up draft picks because I think they can't even
can they?
start until 2027 or
Right.
2028.
Right.
And then do every other year. But I think they do it, and then now the Nets is forced to make it like Kyrie's going to be the draft pick guy. You know what I mean? He's not going to be the guy you move for young players that can help you build your
Right.
foundation.
I mean,
He's going to be the draft pick guy.
yeah.
So maybe the Lakers, but other than that, I can't see another team doing it.
Right.
And even with that, they got to take Westbrook.
If that's what I'm saying. If I was them, I would do it for Westbrook for 1 year.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'd do it for Westbrook for 1 year. If you have Westbrook and then, you get some pieces for KD, like you're saying, from the Suns.
How many picks do you do? 10? 5?
With Westbrook? I mean, for Kyrie?
Like is it pick swap 6 years in a row? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
Like that's how I'd be like, 6 years in a row. I want pick.
I feel like,
swap,
obviously
pick,
Kyrie is Kyrie, and someone's gonna be like, I want that talent, but I also think his stock is low.
Mm-hmm.
Because of everything that's going on around him, I think his stock is low. And I'm gonna tell you what, if he goes to the Lakers, that's gonna be a whole nother drama show right there. You know what I mean? Now, the one thing you do know is that you got LeBron over there, and
it's a better fit though. Like even with the drama, I don't think it's gonna be as bad as it's a different. New York is different, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, granted, another big media, but they not gonna be. Even with what they done with Westbrook, it wasn't like what Randall's been going through. You know what I mean? It wasn't. It wasn't like the turmoil in Brooklyn. So I think Kyrie could live through that and act like it ain't nothing, and it won't be a thing for him there.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a better fit, like as far as players.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a better fit. He's played with LeBron. You know what I mean? It's a crazy situation over there in Brooklyn, man. And I'm glad to see it, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad to see them because, they thought there was this, that, and third, and winning championships and all of this, and now they're exploding. They're burning. Glad to see it. Dapper Dance, thank you for the super chat. He said KD is doing this because Kyrie didn't get extended. I disagree. I think KD is doing it because Kyrie came back and he's not getting traded. From what I've read, Kyrie and KD haven't spoken in a while. So I think, I think he's not happy with Kyrie right now.
But that's a hell of a start. Do you move Ben Simmons too, and try to get what you can get from him, or is he a good foundation piece with Aiden and Bridges and
for me, he could be a good foundation piece, but I don't know how long is his contract. Because if I'm the Nets and I'm breaking down like this, I don't know if I want long contracts. That's the thing that I'm afraid of. I don't know if I want long contracts. You know what I'm saying? I want to be flexible, so that I can, I can do things. I want to be flexible with my salary, so that I can do things to bring in more draft picks. So I can absorb salary if I need to. I can be flexible so that I can bring in assets. You know what I'm saying?
But I think you still gonna keep one or two guys as your like, this is my foundation piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is so. Do you pick Ben Simmons? Do you pick Ayton? Do you pick Bridges? Or do you pick Cam Johnson? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're gonna bring players in. I think that's why I think, your first year or two when you're going through this is kind of like you're seeing it's trial and error. Like, who is gonna be my foundation guys, and who are gonna be the guys that I'm really trying to build with?
I mean, and that's a positive of having young guys like those guys under contract because
Yeah.
they're always going to be movable. You know what I mean? Like, so you could rock out this year with a Ben Simmons, Ayton, um, the two other guys, and kind of just see
And see
what
where it
happens.
goes.
See who
Yeah,
you like.
yeah, no
You know what
doubt.
I mean? Like, you might mess around getting a play-in by mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And end up playing better than you thought. But on the flip side is, at that point, you probably want draft picks. You really just want to see what you got, but not have them excel to their fullest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
whatever. That's their problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's their issues right now, you know. Um, but with all of that, somewhere along the lines, I think the Knicks should be making calls. They should be, and I'm pretty sure Leon Rose, Scott Perry, and them guys, they're on the horn with people right now. You know, but they should be making calls, trying to figure out how can we get in on something to make our team better. Because there's going to be pieces moved around. There's going to be players flying all over the place, probably. And I'd be trying to get in on the deal, trying to figure out who's going to be the best, you know, what's going to be the best move for me to make this team better. You know what I mean? Because now you possibly have a team falling out of the playoffs or the play-in. Possibly. Maybe they put together a team that can still make the play-in, but it's possible that they fall out. And here's your chance to say, we're stepping into this spot.
That's right.
You know what I mean? We're stepping
Passing
into
the
this
keys
spot.
on your way out.
You know? So I'm hoping that throughout all of that, you know, the Lakers could be involved. The Mavericks could be involved. The Miami Heat could be involved. You know, when you talk about the Mavericks and the Miami Heat, they're going to have to do things to get rid of players. They're going to have to find ways to work things around. Now, the Knicks don't really have a lot of cap space to absorb anything, but they may be able to maneuver some stuff around and you know, find ways to make things happen. And I want them to be at least involved, have some conversations, see what they can come away with. You know what I mean? It'll be, you know, we will see. It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, but that's the wrap up for today. That's what's going on today in the NBA. It's been a, you know, it's like just before. Can you imagine every front office in the league is like, okay, here's our plan going into free agency. This is what we're going to do. Everyone's, you know, they got their phones polished up and ready to go. Everybody got this, you know, their dinner out. Everybody's in the war room. They got their plan up on the board. Here's the players we're going after. And if this don't work, we're doing this, and then this, and then this. And then all of a sudden you hear Kevin Durant requests a trade. And it blows up every single thing that you got on the board. It blows it up. Blows it up. And you're like, okay, what do we do? How do we go? Do we go after KD? You know what I mean? Yeah, that you know, that just set everything on fire right there. And guys who had, people who had all of these plans that they've been working on for weeks, all of a sudden they're like, well, forget these plans. You know what I'm saying? We're going after Kevin Durant.
Time to recalculate.
Yeah, time to recalculate. You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. You know, very interesting to see where he ends up. But yeah, we will see.
Makes for a fun off season too.
We will see. Yeah. Without a doubt, it does. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks, they signed Jalen Brunson. They signed Isaiah Hartenstein to contracts. The New York Knicks signed Jalen Brunson to a 4-year, $104 million deal. The deal is decelerating. So in year one, he's going to make $28.1 million. In year two, $26.7 million. In year three, $25.3 million. In year four, $23.9 million. Right. So what you see on your screen right now are the different options in which the Knicks could have signed Jalen Brunson or the structure of the contract. They chose to do the decelerating structure. All right. Jalen Brunson, 6'1", 190, 25 years old. Last year, he averaged 16.3 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 4.8 assists. Shot 50% from the field, 37.3% from the three-point line, and 84% from the free throw line. And Isaiah Hartenstein, ladies and gentlemen, he's 7 foot, 250 pounds, 24 years old. Last year with the Clippers, he averaged 8.3 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, and 2.4 assists per game. Shot 62.6% from the field, 46.7% from the three-point line, and 68.9% from the free throw line. He signed a reported 2-year, $16 million deal with the New York Knicks. So the Knicks added shooting. They added a much-needed point guard.
A leader.
A leader.
A general.
Tough guy. Let me ask you this, though, before we get out of here. Jalen Brunson, son of Rick Brunson, right? Who played for Tom Thibodeau, played under Tom Thibodeau when Tom Thibodeau was an assistant coach, and also coached with Tom Thibodeau. Leon Rose, the godfather, reportedly the godfather of Jalen Brunson. And then Leon Rose's son is the agent of Jalen Brunson. Tampering? Anyone? Or no?
I'm going to say no. Now, unless they want to implement a nepotism rule. Now,
Stupid nepotism.
That might be different, but I can't control who my daddy is. I can't control, I didn't make him my godfather. He's my godfather. You know what I mean? Like, that was my father's decision, my parents' decision.
My parents' decisions.
And I signed with this agent before I even knew, I think, before Leon became the president. So
I don't know. Well, he might have signed with the agent before Leon became the president. That's true.
Because I'm sure they probably grew up together. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's no way they didn't. That's my god brother, basically. I signed with my god brother.
I signed with my family. Yeah.
So it's nepotism. It's not.
And wasn't Rick Brunson the first client of Leon Rose?
Yep, very first.
Yeah,
very first.
Yeah, that's a lot of family ties right there.
Yeah, I mean, they can't really. I don't think they can really prove anything. It's like, yeah, were you at dinner with? Yeah, it was Christmas. Like that's my godfather. We have Christmas dinner every year. Like, you can't.
Right. I mean, what is the definition of tampering in the NBA?
I think last year it was just the reports coming out, like the definitive reports coming out with dollars, amounts, years, and everything before 6 o'clock or 3 o'clock, whatever time.
Yeah, that's what happened with Brunson. That's what happened with Brunson.
I mean, but there was conflicting reports too.
Yeah, there was some conflicting reports, but it was. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm talking like 2 hours beforehand. There was already reports. Jalen Brunson intends to sign with the New York Knicks. It was. I guess. It was, and then.
I think last year it didn't say intended. It was like. It was like the ink was on the pen, off the pen already.
Right, and then they had Jalen Brunson, his people called the Mavs and canceled the meeting. I mean, there's a lot of different conflicting reports, but canceled the meeting.
And then they said there was no meeting.
Right, because they canceled it. Right, so there was no meeting. Then, of course, Adrian, somehow, and then I guess they said the Mavs didn't even make an offer, but then Woj said that he was going to meet with the Knicks with an offer in hand. there was a lot of stuff going on behind it, backdoor deals going on. We all know about that. But hey, you know what? That's what you got Leon Rose for. Those connections. That's what you got World Wide West for. Those connections. Right now is Leon Rose and his family connections that are making things happen for the New York Knicks. Last question before we get out of here. In relation to that, do you think those connections led to the Knicks not really pursuing DeJounte Murray?
Honestly, I think there was questions. I think there was questions about the fit of the two of them, even though the report said they wanted the two of them like as a tandem.
I mean, but do you think that led to the Knicks choosing Brunson over Murray?
Without tampering, I do believe the choice was already made for Brunson. You know what I mean?
Right.
Beforehand. You know what I mean? Like they knew. Without tampering, I think they had put things in place like his dad coming here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at that point, that's your, that's your path. I don't think they chose him over Murray. I think they chose him before, if that makes sense.
Okay. And because it was in place, it was like, we're not going to jump off of this now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
now we gotta remove things from the shelf, and you know what I mean. Now we gotta rearrange the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this.
Okay. I'm with it. We're gonna see how this rocks out, man. This is Hey, the Knicks got a point guard for hopefully the next 10 years. Hopefully, let's hope that they got a point guard for the next 10 years. It's gonna be able to man the ship. We'll see what's up, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. We're going to have more. We're going to have more tomorrow. So make sure that you join us tomorrow. I'll probably do a couple of shows throughout the day, ladies and gentlemen, talking about anything that the Knicks have done, anything that's going on throughout the NBA. We're going to be watching what's going on with Kevin Durant, with Kyrie Irving, with James Harden, with Zach LaVine. Going to be checking it all out. All right, so make sure you join us, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. Rest easy. It's 12:43. Some people are working overnight. I'm glad you was able to jump in. I'm glad I was able to rock with you, while you're at work. Some people getting ready to go to bed. You got to get up early. I want to make sure you can get up early, so do that. All right, Tony, any last words before we get up out of here?
Sin Man, it's always a pleasure to share the screen with you. Appreciate you. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is Time. And I see you tomorrow sometime. I'm sure I'll get in one of those streams.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? I do think sometime tomorrow I'm probably gonna do a keep 'em or dump 'em for Julius Randle. Seems like the perfect time to do a keep 'em or dump 'em. Everywhere I look, all over my timelines and in chats, and everyone's like, trade Randle, trade him now, get him out of here. Got bad news for you guys, but anyway. We'll probably do a keep him or dump him tomorrow for Julius Randle and get it over with before something does happen and he does get traded. Something like that.
Listen, shoot me a text. If I'm at work already, I'll try to run in the bathroom and call in real quick.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or leave my comments. But,
no doubt. All right.
It's definitely going to be great.
I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Hit that subscription button right now. Smash the like button. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Be peaceful. One.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.